The Sixers made a mistake, then they made the mistake again, and third time is not the charm. They need to avoid making the same mistake again. And ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to tell you how they can do that, what they need to do next, and if it is actually possible. Also, I think it could be a decider in whether this organization succeeds going into the future. So we'll talk about it all, but welcome into Philly Take with RB. I'm RB. Do me a favor, like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell. Quentin Grimes has been absolutely fantastic. He has been one of the reasons why we can still watch this team. Well, maybe you can't, but I'm out here streaming every game, covering this team. I know it's been a brutal season. It's been torturous. It's been terrible, but we could always be the Dallas Mavericks, who, oh, by the way, traded Quentin Grimes to the Sixers for Caleb Martin. Just remember that, keep that in perspective. But Quentin Grimes, while the Sixers are openly tanking and are now tied again with the Brooklyn Nets for the fifth best odds, is out here making these games fun. He is hooping. I know a lot of people are out there saying, oh, well, somebody has to score, right? He's playing with the Jalen Hood-Shafinos and the O'Shea Brissetts. I get that. I hear where you're coming from. But what Quentin Grimes is doing is taking an opportunity to embrace something and actually performing it and going out and doing it. He's never had this type of role, this type of responsibility. Do I think he can do this, sustainably for the next 5 years? No, but I think he can be a damn good role player and maybe a third option. And he has done nothing but impress us in every way. I'm so impressed at how he puts the ball on the floor and can beat a defender, get to the rim, has a really good bag under the rim. He has obviously a defensive mindset, but he's creating easy buckets on the other end in transition, on the fast break. He actually has a pretty good eye for the floor. I love this guy, and I think that he can be an integral part of this team moving forward. We'll talk about whether he can be, whether they should re-sign him or not, but I want to take a second and talk about another player, a former Sixer, okay? Jimmy Butler is now the fastest player in Warriors franchise history to record 100 rebounds and 100 assists. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sixers made a mistake not keeping Jimmy Butler back in 2019. They made a mistake not trying to get him this year, and they might make another mistake, but they can't. Okay, Jimmy Butler with the Warriors right now, 15-2 since they acquired him. Miami is 4-16 without Jimmy Butler. And I've sat up here on this show for years and taken a lot of heat for saying that Jimmy Butler is a culture guy. He is a tone setter. He is a winner. Okay, I know he hasn't won it all, but he carried two Miami teams to the finals. And if the Sixers never let Jimmy Butler go, he and Joel Embiid would have won a championship together. It's quite obvious. Everywhere this guy goes, he makes something happen. And you know what? Matter of fact, back in May of last year, May 8th, 2024 to be exact, I tweeted this out. If it comes down to Jimmy Butler and Paul George, I'm taking Jimmy every single time. Look, Paul George was never the perfect option, but he was the best of what was available. I keep saying the cap space plan was executed in the wrong year. He was there. They signed him. It's over. It's done with. But Jimmy Butler should have been the guy that they went out and tried to get. And they made the mistake 3 times. And go back to old videos on the channel. I said it a million times. They should have never let him go. This guy wins. It is quite clear to see the impact that he has had in Golden State. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship, but they're a lot better position now than they were before they acquired him. And ladies and gentlemen, the Sixers have made a mistake this year, and now they have a chance to fix it. So before I get into my thoughts on that, my question to you, let me know your thoughts down below, is should the Sixers re-sign Quentin Grimes at all costs, no matter what it takes? Give me your thoughts on that down below right now. And before I jump into all of it, I'm going to give a shout out to the great sponsor of today's show. And ladies and gentlemen, it is Mando. The Sixers absolutely stink this season, but you do not have to. Are you someone who's been trying to find that right deodorant? You've gone through a bunch and they irritate your skin, or they don't smell right, or they don't last all day. Well, look no further. Mando has you covered. Maybe you're going on a hot date. Doesn't matter the situation. Maybe you're going to a Sixers game for some reason for $2. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go out there and cop the Mando, the whole body deodorant. good on the pits, the package, the feet. You can use it anywhere. My personal favorite is this one, the Mount Fuji. They also sent me the bourbon leather. Lots of great smells, very unique, very comfortable. And my favorite part is that they don't irritate the skin. Matter of fact, if you're someone who sweats a lot, you can use this bad boy in the morning. It is clinically proven to block odor all day. It's clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. And it's comfortable. It does not irritate the skin. It was created by a doctor who saw how body odor was being misdiagnosed. You've probably seen it everywhere at this point. They are America's #1 whole body deodorant formula, and you have to check them out, man. Go to shopmando.com. Get the best deodorant that I have ever used. Like I said, my favorite, the Mount Fuji. Check it out. I'd recommend the Mando starter pack. It comes with one of these solid stick deodorants, cream tube deodorant, and another really cool product, the spray deodorant, in case you're on the go. It also comes with 2 free products of choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes and free shipping. And right now, new customers can get $5 off the Mando starter pack by using my code PhillyTake5. Go to shopmando.com, use the code PhillyTake5, and make sure you do not stink like the Sixers. Once again, go support them. Let them know that RB sent you. All right, man. Let's talk about the mistake that the 76ers made. I'm going to pull up our Instagram page. Definitely go follow us over there on Instagram. But Paul George's season is officially over. In case you didn't hear the other day, I mean, who really follows the Sixers updates anymore? They're never clear anyway. But Paul George is out for the season. And he finishes the season averaging 16.2 points per game, 5.3 rebounds per game, and 43% from the field. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for reference, last year, Tobias Harris's numbers, 17.3 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 48% from the field. Now, I know that Paul George was hurt 7 million times this year. I know Paul George dealt with a lot. I know there was, a lot of controversy and a lot of drama. Tobias just never lived up to the occasion. He never did it. And Paul George is also in year 1, whereas Tobias Harris had 5 years to try to figure it out. But ladies and gentlemen, look at Paul George's remaining salary, $51 million, $54 million, and $57 million. Now, the funniest part is that at the end of this contract, right, similar to Joel Embiid, who's on for another year beyond that, that's more likely where you would look at a potential rebuild if you were the Sixers, if you were thinking logically, right, with those contracts. But when they signed those contracts, they brought everybody together and pretty much said, hey, we're working on a couple-year window here. We're trying to go all in now. Right? We have all these draft picks stacked up in 28, 29, right? Looks pretty nice couple years out, but I don't think they can bring back the same guys next year. Matter of fact, they can't because the fan base is already mentally checked out. And in a season where you were going to push all the chips into the middle of the table, go all in, it was quite possibly the biggest disaster I've ever seen. And they lied to us from day one when Joel Embiid didn't play 9 games. Then he shoved the reporter. Then he got in the face of the woman referee. Then he got called out by Tyrese Maxey. Nick Nurse never got the team under control. Made the wildest decisions I've ever seen. Paul George got hurt a million times. Maxey hurt. McCain. I can go down the list for hours upon hours. Ladies and gentlemen, they can't possibly try to sell that product back next year to us. But what can they do? Well, they can go out and sign Quinton Grimes. Here is Quinton Grimes on a rookie contract. They acquired him from the Dallas Mavericks. Thank you, Dallas. Daryl Morey had a heck of a trade here. And Quentin Grimes has restricted free agent rights. And what that means is that this offseason, when a team goes to offer him a contract, the Sixers can match whatever it is. It doesn't matter where. He could say, I want to go to this team. They offer me this. Well, the Sixers can match it, right? And if we look at the 76ers cap table, let's look at next season. Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, all with player options. You hope they decline. If they don't, maybe they opt in, you get them for cheap, or you try to trade them. Then you have Lonnie Walker, Jared Butler, Justin Edwards, all on team options. They could all be declined if they wanted. Maybe you keep a guy like Justin Edwards around. He's been showing some potential. Yabusele's number has been going down these past couple months. I feel bad for him, right? He was a big hot commodity at the deadline. Hasn't been playing well recently since he got injured. And he's still out there, with the worst of the worst. And he just looks really bad right now. But maybe that plays into the Sixers' favor. Do they say bring back Maxey, McCain, Grimes, Yabu, right, and move forward with that? Can they move the Paul George and Joel Embiid contracts? That's obviously the biggest elephant in the room right now, and I think they're going to have to try. You know, I'm not saying these guys are completely done, but for the money they're making, I mean, the biggest thing that gets on my nerves is that we still don't know if Joel Embiid's going to get surgery or not. And they're going to wait too long to decide, and we don't know if he's even going to start the year next year. Paul George is going to be 35. He already had a ton of injuries this year. What makes you think, based on the way he looked this year, that he's going to be any better next year? So, ladies and gentlemen, the Paul George contract was a huge, huge mistake. But re-signing Quinton Grimes is the way to solve your former misfortunes, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, the Sixers have to give Quentin Grimes whatever it takes. Now, is that number at 12 million? Is it at 14? Based on the way he's been playing, if we go look at Quentin Grimes' numbers, this guy has 5 30-point games, 2 40-point games in 18 games with the team. And matter of fact, you look at some of these games, 28, 29, 25. He's been very close to having over a third of the games played go beyond 30 points. I don't think it's a Cinderella run. I don't think it's a Jeremy Lin run. I think this guy finally got an opportunity and embraced it to the fullest. Now, again, when you play around Joel Embiid, your role is completely different. I don't think they can give him 15 a year, you know, and expect him to put up this production if he's just in a Joel Embiid system or just, you know, a 4th or 5th option. Like, I think you have to make Quentin Grimes a 3rd option on this team if you're going to pay him like one. And I think he actually could be more productive in the future than Paul George. So, Quentin Grimes is legit. He does it on both sides of the ball. He's shown you a lot more in his arsenal than you thought he had. And he's averaging 21.8 points per game with the 76ers. So how can the Sixers get this done? Well, they can go out there and offer him, 12, 14 million themselves. Other teams could potentially offer him the mid-level exception. Now, I think it's hard to know what the interest level is from other teams, right? Are they looking at Quentin Grimes going, hey, he's just playing on a bad team like a lot of us are doing, and, he's not worth it, right? Maybe we'll give him the mid-level exception, even though that would hard cap us and, create other complications. Like, is Quentin Grimes the main guy we're looking at? And my inclination tells me no. A lot of the teams out there are not going to do that. And that gives the Sixers a really good leeway to go in and sign him. But what if a team like the Brooklyn Nets comes out and goes over the top? And I want to give a shout out to Adam Aronson of Philly Voice because he wrote an article about this. And the Brooklyn Nets are the only team projected to have major cap space this offseason, actually upwards of 50 to 70 million. And if they make some trades, even more. Now, the Nets could come out here in a full rebuild and say, hey, we need to get to the cap floor. We don't really care. We're still rebuilding. We're stacking up picks. Let's go offer Quentin Grimes somewhere, 4 years, 80 million, 20 a year. And I thought he made a really good point here when he said that they could, make the contract heavier up front in order to screw the Sixers, right? Because the Sixers are dealing with the luxury tax. And if the Sixers don't trade PG or Embiid, they're getting close to the second apron now. If they want to bring back Grimes on this type of number, bring back Yabusele. So now it's getting very interesting. So again, I think they need to move one of the big contracts, but what if the Nets offer Grimes this big, massive extension and he says, yeah, I'm going to go sign with them? Then the Sixers have to decide, do we want to pay Quentin Grimes $20 million a year? Would I do it? Yes, because the cap always appreciates, and in a couple years, this contract is going to look brilliant. The Brooklyn Nets could actually come out here and offer Grimes a crazy amount of money, and that would force the Sixers to have to match it. That's the only wrinkle I see here. If not, and if the Nets don't want to bring in a two-way defensive-minded guard under Jordy Fernandez, and the Sixers just have really the full flexibility to sign him no matter what, I think they're in the clear. And it's an obvious decision. They have to do it. There is no reason not to. They cannot make the same mistake that they did with Jimmy Butler, where they overthought it and they thought, okay, we'll get an alternative option. Obviously a different mindset right now. But ladies and gentlemen, Quentin Grimes is legit. They can't continue to go with these big, massive stars, 40, 50 million a year. They can't go trade for Kevin Durant this summer. They have a piece right here who has shown crazy amounts of potential. He's 24 years old. He can only get better, and he can only get more comfortable. And I'll tell you what, even though it kind of feels like we're trending towards a rebuild, a guard rotation of Maxey, McCain, and Grimes, That is a heck of a guard rotation to start building with as we move forward. We'll see how the other pieces play out, but those are my thoughts. Do whatever it takes to bring back Quinton Grimes. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Give me your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.